Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today we are doing a Game Week 31 buy, sell, keep or avoid video. Now for those of you who are wildcarding, we've got a few more videos this week for you, but those of you who are not wildcarding, hopefully this will probably be the most useful video for you this week. I do love this series, it's kind of the biggest series of the channel and yeah, excited to get going as always and talk about FPL. Guys, if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here, of course. But before we get on with the buys, the sells, the keeps and avoids, let's have a quick look at our sponsor for today's video. And our sponsor is, of course, today OneFootball. Now, for those of you who don't know what OneFootball is, it's a great app / website for all things football. I personally use OneFootball to check up on, the scores of games I'm not necessarily watching. Sometimes I want to look back at the scores. If I've forgotten a score from the weekend, I'll check the app. I'll look at the stats. It's a really handy tool. You know, it's any kind of football app. You have different kind of things for different things. This is one of the tools you need for FPL to make sure you get things right. I really do recommend it. And of course, by downloading it, by clicking the link in my description, you do help support the channel as well. It's completely free. Do go check it out, guys. So, buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you probably have and should keep them. Avoids are players you probably don't have but should avoid. And let me tell you guys, one of the avoids I've got in this video, I'm not looking forward to seeing your reaction, guys. I'm going to hopefully try and justify why I've put this player in the avoid section. But look forward to that one. It's going to be the last avoid of the video. Can't wait to share it with you guys, but at the same time, pretty scared to see your reaction, but let's get on with this video anyway, and we're going to start off with some buys. So my first buy is Jota. Great form at 6.8 million, great value, great form. You know, the numbers you see on screen, they don't look amazing, but he's kind of only been available for 4 Premier League games. The first one versus Chelsea, he kind of came off the bench for a little cameo. The next one he started, but was kind of getting into the swing of things, I think, by that point. And then he started, and against Wolves, he looked good, he scored, and finally, of course, we all know this one, he played again against Arsenal. He comes off the bench, changes the game, scores twice. You know, the hunger and positioning he shows, particularly on that second goal against Arsenal. This is a guy who wants to score goals. He's not doubting himself. He's not there to play second fiddle back up to Mane and Salah. He wants to be the man. He ends up with 12 points from the bench. What can you say about that? And for those of you who are kind of worried about him being benched, here's an interesting stat for you. So in the 5 Premier League games that Jota has been benched and has come on late in the game, he has scored 4 goals during those cameo appearances, if you like. He is clearly capable of being an impact player, so it's nothing really to worry about. And I think he's kind of made it very difficult for Klopp to not start him anyway. Now, Liverpool's fixtures for the rest of the season, they're kind of incredible. We know this. Villa next, then Leeds, Newcastle, then Manchester United, Southampton, West Brom, Burnley, and then finally Palace. Man United, probably the only tricky fixture there, but we know that they're kind of capable of conceding a goal or two anyway. Liverpool, they're chasing the top 4, so they have a lot to play for still. It is time to double or maybe even triple up on those Liverpool players. So why not start with Jota? Maybe even, go for someone like Salah as well if you don't have him already. Trent's creative numbers are looking fantastic. We've got Nat Phillips, who could start most games for Liverpool at just 4 million. You could even go for Mane if you fancy a real punt, though I do prefer Salah personally, but start with Jota, I think. So my second buy is Iheanacho. He's kind of made the avoid list for a couple of weeks in a row now, and kind of for good reason. But now it is buy time. Now Leicester have fantastic fixtures over the next 4. West Brom, Palace, Southampton and Newcastle. Iheanacho is in great form. Only Kane and Richarlison are shooting more than Iheanacho per game. Nobody has a better goal to game ratio right now. 5 goals in 5 games despite playing Arsenal, Man City and Brighton, who are a good defence during that period. So that's looking pretty good. He smashed it against Burnley. He smashed it against Sheffield United. Is he maybe a small game player? I can't personally think of any big performances against big teams over the past few years, but that's fine when you look at these Leicester fixtures. He's also got a bit of assist potential too. We've got some great fixtures, great form. What else have we got? Well, we've got a mouth-watering price, 5.8 million for an informed striker in a top 4 side playing weak teams. At that price, he's kind of an enabler, isn't he? You can kind of spend that extra money on other players. It might allow you to have an extra premium player in your team, for example. And at 4.4% owned, he's also a bit of a differential, isn't he? So there's loads to love about Iheanacho. Now, some people will be saying, okay, is he going to be playing? Maddison is back. Barnes will be back in a few games. Well, to a degree, that is a chance you take. That's why he's 5.8 million. And I would suggest having an easy escape route when you can transfer him out to maybe an Antonio or Bamford or Watkins maybe in a couple of game weeks if it does all go terribly, terribly wrong. That said, do I think he's going to be benched? Do I think he's going to be out of the starting lineup? No, I don't. I don't think he will be at all. Maddison will come back into the team, but it's far more likely that Maddison's going to come in for Perez. Perez will be dropped from the Leicester team. All that's going to do is add more creativity to feed Iheanacho to score more goals. The two forwards formation is kind of working wonderfully for Leicester. Fair enough, they didn't beat City, but nobody can beat City at the moment, can they? So I wouldn't really even take Game Week 30 into consideration when judging Iheanacho and Leicester. Barnes, we don't know when he's back. But Leicester's fixtures, they're probably going to have swung again by the time anyway, and you might be looking to move Iheanacho to a Bamford maybe for those final 3 games for Leeds. So I think we're laughing here. Take the risk, take the plunge. You know, the upside here is enormous, and the longer you wait, you know, the more points you're going to be missing out on in the short term. So my first sell is Gündogan. I think it's time for the Gundo gang to disband. Believe me guys, it brings me no pleasure whatsoever to say this. He's kind of been an absolute legend for me this season. I'll never forget his 19-point triple captain haul for me. But the fact that it is that he's kind of, as each week goes by, he becomes less and less of a reliable option. You know, since KDB has been back, Gündogan has been kind of forced into a less advanced role. I think the return of Aguero plays a big part here too, as Gündogan, you know, for a while, he was kind of the main striker in a weird kind of way, wasn't he? So there's far less shooting, far less time spent in attacking areas, far less creative opportunities too. No big chances created at all, in fact, over the past 5. His numbers have just dropped off an absolute cliff, and this is as part of a Man City team who are actually creating and scoring loads of goals. It's just that Gündogan isn't involved. It's just that he's kind of not pivotal to that attacking play anymore. Add to this the fact that he's no longer nailed in this Man City Premier League team, and by that I mean he's literally just started 2 of Man City's past 5 Premier League games. You kind of wonder whether he's going to be prioritised for those Champions League games and rested for most Premier League games. Add to that, again, we're adding more to that, the fact that City blank in Game Week 33, you kind of have to wonder how many minutes Gündogan's actually going to get over the next 3-4 game weeks, don't you? Now, I would be tempted to keep him for the Leeds game, but if transferring Gundo out means that you can bring in, you know, a Jota, Lingard, maybe Mason Mount, these players in the same price bracket look so much more tempting to me. It's not easy to say goodbye to a player who is such a legend, but it's time to go. My next sell is Dallas. Now, this is a slightly easier one, I think. Not because Dallas is a bad player. I actually think he's been amazing. He's kind of surprised me so much this season. Fair play to him. But let's be real. Leeds defence versus City next, then Liverpool, then United over the next 3. Man, it's going to be an absolute carnage, and Dallas is going to lose so many points just for goals conceded alone. Leeds' attacking style of football just doesn't work against these bigger teams, and that's been proven time and time again. And then you can say, oh, but I want Dallas for, you know, goals or assists. I don't think too many are coming. You can look at his recent numbers. They haven't looked great, even in some favourable fixtures, you know. He's kind of been taking a few pot shots from a distance, the odd creative pass, but the real creativity is coming kind of from out wide, isn't it? Sort of Rafinha would be the main creative outlet in that Leeds side. Even after the next horrible 3 game weeks, they kind of have Brighton and then Spurs. So it's just not looking great in the immediate term for Dallas. But the good news is that there are plenty of options to switch to in defence and some great prices as well. We've got, you know, Nat Phillips, I mentioned earlier, Holding, Fofana. Sure, you could even grab like a Spurs defender for the double game week in Game Week 32. Kind of an easy transfer out for me. Get it done. Cheers for the points, Dallas. See you back in our Game Week 36 teams. On to some keeps now. I'm going to start you off with Son. I kind of can't believe, in a way, that I'm talking about Son in a buy, sell, keep, avoid video again. I think it's 4 weeks. He's been in the keep section for 4 weeks in a row now, just because people continue to sell him like crazy. He's due another price drop. His effective ownership is just dropping like mad, which is very good for those of us keeping him, by the way. Now, fair enough, that's kind of worked in the sellers' favour a little bit in recent terms, kind of. I mean, arguably taking Son out was a waste of a transfer because you're really going to want him for Game Week 32. You know, Spurs on a double game week in Game Week 32. Who are the 2 players you absolutely must have? Kane and Son. It's Kane and Son, isn't it? Kane and Son will score so many points over the course of 2 fixtures, and game week 32 is literally next game week. Are you really going to want to sell Son now and then bring him back in next game week? That's 2 transfers gone in a blink of an eye. Now, unless you're on a wild card and can plan to bring him back very easily, or your team is like literally immaculate elsewhere, selling Son just seems like a super dumb move. Now, the stats on screen, they look pretty good, but nothing amazing. Now consider that of the 5 games that he's been available for that I've counted towards these stats, one of them he got injured after 15 minutes. The other, he sort of had a second half cameo appearance to bring him back from injury, and even then his stats look pretty good. That's because before his injury he was looking really good. He was being super creative, one of the most creative players in the league, in fact. I know it's been like a month since then, but try and remember how good Son is. His 3 game weeks of playing very few minutes or not being in the squad due to injury is not a reflection of his ability, and not a reflection of his ability to get you points, or perhaps more importantly, he is gonna get you points now that he is back fit. Keep Son. My next keep is Antonio. Now, when people see the little yellow Dorito shape with an exclamation mark on it, they panic sell. I'm going to start calling this the Dorito effect. Antonio is the latest victim of the Dorito effect. Now, since last night, Antonio, he's kind of been sold by the masses. Now he's having a scan today to determine the severity of his injury. But the consensus right now is that the injury isn't that bad at all, and he probably was just taken off the pitch as a precaution, maybe. Now, this could age horribly if we find out tomorrow the injury is really bad, but right now, it's just not time for panic stations. Worst case scenario, he's out for 1 game week. Surely you can cover him with the players that you have right now, surely. From game week 32 onward, he has amazing fixtures, so you'll really want him then. Antonio is a relatively informed forward, playing for an informed West Ham attack. Let's talk about some fixtures. Leicester next, not great, but not horrendous. After that, Newcastle, that's a fabulous fixture. I would really want Antonio for the game against Newcastle. Then Chelsea, Burnley, Everton. There are goals in this stretch of games, especially that Newcastle game. It could be amazing. So, guys, at least wait and find out how bad the injury is. Look how upset poor Antonio looks in the picture that I've got on screen now. Everyone's selling him. He's devastated. Don't succumb to the Dorito effect. Finally, with some avoids, this is not the scary one. The scary one's coming next, but this one is Pereira. So from Dorito to the week to kind of knee jerk of the week, I guess. So one of my biggest annoyances, I guess, in FPL is trying to convince people that just because a player scores a worldy score 1 week, it doesn't mean it's going to happen every game week. Now, that Chelsea game was a freak game. Even Sam Allardyce couldn't believe what was happening in front of his eyes. West Brom are not going to roll over top 6 sides every week for the rest of the season. I wouldn't even be surprised if West Brom didn't win another game this season. I mean, they probably will, but I wouldn't be too surprised. I can't even believe, to be honest, that we're talking about West Brom players. If I'm honest, I think this is an FPL mate channel first. And yet he's kind of the 7th most transferred in player of the week so far. So for those of you who are thinking about buying him, and I know, there's a few of you cheeky knee-jerkers out there, you're going to be considering buying him. Let me try and convince you otherwise. Here are some stats. So, before game week 30, Pereira blanked in 8 consecutive game weeks. 8 consecutive game weeks. That's mad. You may as well put El Neni in your fantasy team. Get El Neni. You'll get the same amount of points. But wait, there's more. In 30 game weeks, Pereira has blanked 24 times. Yes, he has literally only got a goal return in 6 of his 30 game weeks. And they kind of pop up so randomly too, you can't even predict it. And I think the only way you could consider Pereira is if you're on a wild card and maybe you want a real budget midfielder to sit on your bench, because I guess his price is pretty good. But, why not go for Solskjaer? Why not spend a bit more money and get Rafinha? Why not just not waste the money and pick a cheaper player to sit on your bench and score those 2 points every game, like, 4.4 million Harrison Reed, for example. Now, I'm not saying Pereira is a bad player, and if you really fancy it, I guess go for it, but be prepared for a series of 1 or 2 pointers for the rest of the 8 game weeks remaining. Well, here he is, Connor Coady. I'm really sticking my neck out with this one. I know that, guys. It's not going to be a popular one. It's not going to be a popular pick. But since putting Coady in one of my wildcard drafts yesterday, because I've been playing around a lot with my wildcard drafts, I was never fully convinced by Coady. So I kind of thought, let's have a proper look at some of the numbers. Let's really get down to business here. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Then, after that, I watched Wolves, their abysmal defensive performance in the first half of their game against West Ham last night, and then I thought, okay, maybe after that, I think I can maybe talk about Coady in this video without getting absolutely slaughtered in the comments. Now, before I carry on, I do just want to quickly say, as far as avoids go, this is a fairly tame one. I don't think Coady is a really bad pick or anything like that, but I do think this is a potential trap. And I thought this would be a really good opportunity for me to talk a little bit about why I won't personally be going for Coady. So, a lot of people are going for Wolves players right now. Why? Fixtures. It's all about the fixtures. So, Fulham next, then Sheffield United, Burnley, West Brom, then Brighton. 5 fantastic fixtures. I can't deny that. And usually, you would prioritise fixtures over form with defenders. That makes sense. But how far do you take it? Because Wolves' defensive form, it literally couldn't be much worse. It really couldn't. Stats kind of put them as the second or third worst defence in the league on current form. And actual goals conceded by Wolves don't even nearly tell the full story. That game against West Ham, that scoreline was kind of, I think, a true depiction of where the Wolves defence are at. Kind of, the underlying stats catching up to real life a little bit, regressing to the mean, if you like, because Wolves are just conceding so many chances. So, over the past 5 game weeks, Wolves have conceded 14.2 shots per game, 10.4 shots in the box conceded per game, 5.6 shots on target conceded per game, 2.6 big chances conceded per game, and 1.85 expected goals conceded per game. So in every one of these stats, Wolves are kind of either the second worst or the third worst in the entire league. So we're literally talking about the 18th/19th worst defence in the league right now on current form. So even in these so-called easy fixtures, they're still going to concede goals in most games, surely. And I say so-called because are they even that easy? We're talking about a Wolves team with nothing to play for. They're kind of just waiting for another chance next season. They're playing against all these teams, fighting for their lives, fighting for their careers to stay in the Premier League with so few games remaining. I just don't think that going for Wolves defenders is kind of as obvious a move as some people are making it out to be. And when you dig deep and you really think about it, you look at the way Wolves are playing and what they have to play for, which is very, very little. Arguably, you just want to avoid Wolves completely for the final run-in. But that is, of course, just my opinion. Please feel free to tell me if I've completely lost the plot. Tell me if I'm missing something or maybe I'm overthinking it too much. But I personally will not be going for Wolves players. There you go. So, quick summary. Get some Liverpool players. You could easily double or triple up on them if you want to. Iheanacho, tiny risk, huge upside. Keep your Spurs and West Ham players and be careful when dealing with the Dorito effect, guys. Be careful of the Dorito effect. And most importantly, don't transfer in Matthews Pereira thinking that he's going to revolutionise your midfield. Just play it sensible. Go for Jota, go for Lingard, guys. Come on. So that is the end of the video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like. Please do subscribe. If you're new around here, I would really, really appreciate that. Plenty more videos to come, mostly surrounding wildcards. But even if you're not on a wildcard, I think the wildcard videos will help you because it will give you an idea of what kind of players that I'm liking the look of at the moment. Hopefully that will help you out a little bit. And if not, just tune in for the FPL of it all. I love talking about FPL. I'm sure a lot of you guys love just listening to FPL stuff, fans. So yeah, I'm here for you guys in that regard, that's for sure. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out OneFootball. Check out my Instagram, Twitter, whatever, all in the description. And yeah, I'll see you later, mates. Bye bye.